what, best of your knowledge, happened behind the bench in Dallas yesterday with CP3 and his family and his mom on Mother's Day? What happened?
I don't know, but he was obviously very upset about it. He was upset about. I mean, they showed during the broadcast him, calling to police and pointing it. It's very strange based on the video I saw of the fan being removed, that the fan appeared to be, first off, relatively young with his family. I mean, I don't know the situation, but it appeared like he might have been a teenager with his mother and brother. I don't know for sure. And also, like, directly behind the Suns bench. Those are surprising circumstances. It's very unfortunate that, because Chris was very upset about it, both in the moment and then afterward. So what I would say is that there are literally tens of thousands of cameras in an NBA arena during the game. Whatever happened, I'm sure that the Mavericks will be able to find on someone's video or their own video, and whatever happened, it will properly be handled. It is unfortunate that Chris and his family felt that way.
Well, I mean, and Chris had the ability to maybe personally witness it because he spent a ridiculous amount of time on the bench. Yeah. I mean, because of the foul trouble that he was in. And what does the NBA make of all that? I mean, because fans think that it's rigged to make sure that these series go long, right? And we I don't know what to say other than the fact that you hear coaches and players say as much as they've been saying. Draymond saying, I make a ton of money, so I'll just, flip people off, but the officiating seems to be front and center again, just like every year. Is there an issue, Brian Windhorst?
So a couple of things going on. First off, all of these series are tight, Rich. So we have two series that are 2-2 and two series tonight that are 2-1. We could have 4 2-2 series. All these series are tight. That's so in a tight series, the officiating matters. Each individual call holds more value. Secondly, we have I don't want to use the word epidemic because it hurts all of us. We have an incredible amount of flopping happening in the NBA right now. It's even more egregious than it's been in previous years. And this is not an original concept, but the Boston Celtics defensive strategy on Giannis is to draw him into charges and flop. It's on their board. It's not a secret. They're flopping like crazy. We have offensive players flopping. We have defensive players flopping. We have players doing, with the decision that the league has now, whether reviewing potential flagrants. We got European soccer breaking out left and right where a guy goes down and he lays there, rolls around waiting for the red card, the flagrant foul, to try to goad the officials to go over and look at it. Now, look, I'm not saying that there haven't been times where a guy gets clocked in the head by an elbow and totally gets his bell rung and is actually badly injured and chipped a tooth or whatever. And obviously that still happens. It's the playoffs, but we are definitely seeing a wave of attempts to manipulate the officiating. And so when you have it being rewarded, flopping is being rewarded regularly. When you have that happening, the fans get on edge, and the fans get on edge makes the players on edge, and it builds on itself. Part of it is why we like the playoffs. Everybody cares. The players care so much. The fans care so much. All of these things are, factors in it. So in the case of Chris Paul got caught in some of his own games. Chris is a very smart player, and for decades now has baited other players into fouling him. And Luka Doncic flopped on a play right before the end of the half. Chris bumped him in the air, and Doncic, 6'8" of him against 6'1" Chris Paul, flailed onto the ground. And then when Doncic got the call, he was cheering for himself and laughing. And then early in the second half, Chris Paul tried to bait Jalen Brunson into a transition foul where he jumped in front of him and stopped. And the officials called it an offensive foul because it's not allowed. And so Chris Paul was getting a dose of his own medicine. And I would say why he would try those moves when he was in foul trouble is not a typical way that he acts. So you can go frame by frame and say that this was a bad call or that was a bad call, but Chris knows in his heart of hearts that he made a bad set of decisions and he hurt his team's chances to win. And so knowing that about Chris and knowing the kind of competitor he is, I would expect him to play much better and differently for the rest of the series.
And the cynic in me, as I tweeted out, like, what's the over-under on number of fouls Luka has by halftime of this next game? 4 or 5? I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the general sense you're getting. I don't mean to be a cynic, but that's just the general sense that you're going to get.
Right, yeah. That's the game that is played. And so, like, in this series, again, that I'm covering, this Bucks-Celtics series,
yes.
The Celtics felt like they were wronged at the end of the game on Saturday because Marcus Smart was fouled and he was only awarded 2 free throws instead of 3.
Correct.
And the Celtics came out and, complained about it vociferously. And the Bucks got worried that the Celtics' complaints were going to lead to the officials calling fouls on them. So their general manager, John Horst, came out last night and presented a dossier of calls in an interview that he gave The Athletic and saying, we were actually the ones wronged. And I say, a pox on all your houses. It's hard enough to officiate games at this level in general. Again, when these series are so tight, all these calls matter so much. I am annoyed by the baiting of the officials with the flopping and the laying on the ground and now the negotiating, in between series. One player was made available to the media in between games 3 and 4 of this Celtics Buck series. It was George Hill, who was a backup who's played 1 game in a month. And yet we have both sides issuing multi-layer political wars on the officiating. I don't like it. I can say that I don't like it. And it doesn't mean the officials get every call right, but I think they all reap what they sow by focusing more on the calls than they are about playing the game the straight-up way. If Chris Paul played straight-up basketball yesterday, I don't know if they'd have won the game, but he would have been in it to the end.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.